Kings for a king. In our stories, our songs, our little toy stables, out of the east they come to the manger. 3 resplendent kings, Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar, representing the 3 ages of humanity, old, middle age, and youth. And in one tradition, 3 separate nations of the east, India, Persia, and Arabia. They come with their camels and their gifts, following what the Godly Place Sunday School curriculum evocatively calls the wild star, seeking the infant King of Kings. But our brother Matthew tells us a very different story. There are no 3 kings, no manger, no camels. We imagine there are 3 because there are 3 gifts, but there could have been more of them. Our family in the Syriac Christian tradition imagines 12. We are not told their ages or their names or what they look like, and we are not told specifically where they come from. We imagine they are kings because our stories and paintings tell us this. We imagine they are kings because Isaiah sings that nations and kings will be drawn to the brightness of the dawn of beloved Israel. And they have come with sumptuous gifts and great status, being granted audience with King Herod. But Matthew does not call them kings. They are magi, which sounds like magician, and that is where the English word comes from. But really, this is an ancient word which refers to a priest. Magi were priests of an ancient religion, Zoroastrianism, an indigenous religion of Iran, which still exists today, which may have functioned as a sort of nebula, a birthing ground for each of the 3 major Abrahamic religions. Priests of this religion were renowned as scholars and astrologers, which is why we remember them as wise and as particularly concerned with stars. The rising of a notable star could be a sign of a fravashi, almost like a soul, heralding the birth of someone very important. We have seen his star at its rising. These are wise men indeed, linking both scholarship and faith to seek the one they call the King of the Jews. These are wise men indeed, using politically astute and tactical cunning to avoid further troubles with Herod. These are wise and noble men. And so, perhaps, in a way, still kings for a king. We imagine they come to the manger because the star leads to Bethlehem. We imagine they come to the manger because the storybooks and the movies and the Christmas cards and our little toy stables include them. And many of us place the 3 apart, bringing them closer and closer until they join the rest of the exalted witnesses on the Feast of the Epiphany, which we celebrate today and which we have also done. There they are, right there. But Matthew does not have them at the manger. Matthew has no manger. It is Luke who tells us the story of the displaced family forced to bear the child in the barn. Matthew has the wise ones arrive at a house, not a stable. These are wise men indeed who have followed the star and do not seem perturbed or confused by its hovering over what was surely at best an ordinary house, and more likely a shabby one. These are wise men indeed who readily accept with joy, says Matthew, that the babe in the arms of an impoverished young girl is the one whose birth has been heralded by the star. These are wise and humble men, and so perhaps still kings for a king. We imagine they come with a royal retinue, camels and servants and pageantry, because many stories, especially the beautiful and luminous opera Amal and the Night Visitors, imagines this. But Matthew does not mention a retinue or camels or servants, although they may have had some of those. Camels were not associated so much with royalty back then. They were more Winnebago than Lamborghini, and a common friend and partner to the nomadic Bedouin peoples. Good for transporting things over long distances, including people, but not known for being a vehicle for one as esteemed as these. But perhaps they did, and perhaps they carried the 3 gifts. In their most famous carol, the wise ones ascribe meaning to each gift, which Matthew does not include. Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns a deity nigh. Frankincense, which has been traded for over 5,000 years across the region, was used in ancient Egyptian burial practices, ancient Persian medicine, and in the rites of the Hebrews as they wandered the desert, burning it before the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle, a healing, holy resin. Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume breathes a life of gathering gloom. Myrrh, which is related to the Semitic word for bitter, also provided perfume and incense to the ancient Jewish peoples, as well as an extra intoxicant in the wine offered to Jesus at his crucifixion. In addition to the spice mixture Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus brought to anoint Jesus' body after burial, and an ingredient in the chrism oil used in baptism in many Christian denominations, an oil of thresholds and shadows. These are wise men indeed to offer such generosity without condition. Wise men indeed to extend courtly hospitality to those whom others might count as nothing. And so, perhaps, still, kings for a king. Kings for a king called forth from Persia into a strange land, and yet heedless of any hardship or danger, they are courageous. Consulting with Herod, either oblivious to his treachery or wanting to make known in some passive-aggressively prophetic way that his days were numbered, they are wise. Arriving without shock or disappointment at a small and unbecoming place and pouring out their riches on this newborn, they are gracious. Heeding the surely angelic dream warning, they are pious. Going home by another road, they are nonviolent defenders. Kings for a king. Gold for a king, respect and wealth. Frankincense for a king, holiness and reverence. Myrrh for a king, tradition and humility. We love them because of what they represent for us, the overturning of expected order. The infant king is greeted by sages with wealth, holiness, and humility. His mother, Theotokos, God-bearer, is received by them with the same reverence and joy given to her by the angel. We imagine a world where those with great power and influence could be like this, offering their wealth to those who are normally counted as nothing. They are everything we wish our earthly kings, priests, and wise leaders to be. We need them in this story because all of humanity was drawn to the wild star of the infant king's birth, the lowly and the lost, the rich and the glorious. But not all saw him for who he really was. These wise ones did. And so perhaps it is acceptable, good, and appropriate to include them in our toy stables as a living parable of all the exquisite mischief that God is up to in this glorious impossible. Perhaps it is prayerful and mystical to imagine them as three, representing multiple nations, multiple stages of development, multiple facets of the human experience. Perhaps it is inspiring to imagine them as kings for all the reasons we've considered here together. Their wisdom, wealth, reverence, and humility makes them kingly, even if they are not. And for them, the infant king, despite all evidence to the contrary, certainly was a king. Kings for a king.